What was Miller looking to do when they started looking for your position, and how did you fit that bill?
They were looking for that, honestly, they were looking for that higher level voice within their executive team. So they wanted someone that could, dive into the data and say, are we truly running as efficient as possible? Are we utilizing our capital spend as efficient as possible? And if not, right, then how do we start improving the operation? How do we become more professional at what we do? And I think that's the biggest change. And obviously change doesn't happen overnight. So when I first started in the role, it's, hey, let's start with our own team, right? Let's get a list of things that we know we're inefficient at, or a better way to say it is we know we can do better. I talked to our team, down to mechanics, drivers. Tell me what are the things that bother you, right? What are the things that you just know could be better, but and they at first they'd be a little shy, then they rattle off a couple of things, and you start finding these nuggets, right? And you start realizing, well, it might seem like something is this small, but when you multiply an organization our size, or you watch that little small nugget as it flows up the process, how much it is, and you start picking off a couple of low-hanging fruit, you start making quick improvements.
There's obviously a tension between young managers who are analytically inclined and older managers who have come up through the wrench turning side of the business. What are some things that you have learned from?
I look at myself, I'm not an equipment manager. I don't think my equipment manager, we're all people managers, right? So it's building those relationships and getting that trust level up. And it's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. There's always some direction, right? There's always a hierarchy, but it's more, we're gonna win this together. And we each hold different pieces of the puzzle, right? So if it's the mechanics, I expect you guys to be the best, wrench turners you can be, and provide the feedback to the next guy. And if you're the maintenance manager, I need you to be the best maintenance manager you can be. And we're all the best we can be. That's what drives the team. And it takes a little while for people to see the results. But if they start seeing the wins and they start seeing little things, I had a conversation with my dispatcher this morning. He made a comment that we were talking about an IT project working on. And he's like, no, before you came, IT would never give us any attention. It would take forever to get things done. But recently they're actually responding to us, and we're getting results like that. So when employees start seeing things move, even small things, they start realizing this can work and you can do it. Same with the equipment manager. It's how are we going to partner together to win? My job can't just be to oversee what you're doing, right? We have to take some of the tasks away from you and move them to me, and that's a delicate conversation. But I think we work together well to say, okay, here's what my primary responsibilities are. Same thing with capital planning. Your job in my mind is to kind of put the list together at the primary level, and my job is to say, okay, you do it based on replacement. I'm going to do a little bit based on the company's growth plan, since I have more knowledge of that. And then my job is to sell it to our CFO and our president of the company. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's all about building trust with the team.
How are you preparing the next generation? And I'm going to throw that open to not only the next generation to fill your spot, but also the spots under you.
For us, it's a difficult question. And I think other managers would resonate with that, because a lot of our organizations, even when you work for a good sized contractor like Miller Brothers, they're still small organizations on the equipment side. So it's hard to say, hey, we want to bring someone on the team that's specifically, we're going to train them to be the next, because you can't have that extra head. So we've kind of looked at the team and said, well, who do we think is the right fit, and how do we start developing them, even informally? So it's, we have identified someone, they don't even know that yet, right? But what we're doing is starting to pepper in additional responsibilities, or changing responsibilities, and saying, hey, we really want you to work on this because we think you can help us drive it. And almost always everyone says, yeah, but I don't have time for that, right? No, I get it. So what tasks can we move on to the next? And it actually helps everyone become a more well-rounded. So we can move tasks around the group. You get people that can understand other people's roles. But it is difficult when you talk about succession planning when you're in a relatively small organization. I mentioned earlier that in the past you would say, well, who's your next shop manager? And so it's your best mechanic. I think I'm a firm believer in, although that might be the person sometimes, maybe it's not. You have to look at the skills of that person, what their career goals are. And sometimes that means looking outside the organization for the right person. But I would say is I've talked to my employees. I know what their career goals are, which I think is step one for a good manager. If you don't know what your people want to do, then you can't guide that conversation. So ask them, talk to them, find out, if you have 10 mechanics, maybe only 2 or 3 of them would raise their hand when you said, who wants to be a manager someday? Right? And then you focus on those guys and find out, well, is it possible in reality? And if it's yes, but they need this training, well, then give them that training. Because we don't know, we can talk about, I got 5 years to worry about this. But especially in the labor market we've had, especially if you're in a more, metro type area, you might think you're replacing that guy in 5 years, but he has a different plan, right? And he's going somewhere else, and you need to have someone that can step in that role much sooner. So my message to anyone would be start as soon as you can. Start now, developing your people. If it leads to a promotion in 12 months, or if it never leads to promotion, it doesn't matter. You still have a better, well-rounded employee for you. But those are important conversations. Regardless of what actually gets written on paper or the score we give people, it helps you identify. A lot of times guys will say, I really wish I got to go to this school this year. Right. I mean, jot that down. And next year we try to give in at school. Or they might say, I used to be a really good welder, but I just don't do it enough to keep my skills on it. Oh, so you want more time? We can bring you in the shop and let you weld more. Things, identify those little things and help people be better.